What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles now, and we are live on this December 3rd. As always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. Every single day, we talk all things Eagles on this program. That is not changing today. So this is really the go-to spot if you're a diehard Eagles fan and you want elite Eagles coverage every single day, year-round. Now, earlier today, I did a video on Darius Slay. Looks as though a reunion could happen. So be sure to check that video out if you haven't already watched it. But coming up here on the live show, so much to get to and new updates on the Darius Slay front. What we're going to talk about here, what Kevin Patullo, the Eagles offensive coordinator, had to say about his house getting egged after that Black Friday loss to the Chicago Bears. We have new developments on the Darius Slay front, a big Justin Herbert injury update going into Monday Night Football, changes that the Eagles must make on offense with Kevin Patullo remaining as the offensive coordinator. I want to dive into this because I think it's fascinating for a couple of different reasons. But should the Eagles trade for Giants pass rusher Abdul Carter after the season? And also, I want to take your questions. So get those questions in. You can use the hashtag Eagles or you can send in a super chat. Do not forget to support the show by also hitting that thumbs up icon, liking the video, hitting that subscribe button, sharing the video, but also you can comment down below. I always love chopping it up with everybody right here on the program. Already 240 people watching live. So as you come in here, don't forget to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. And I'm going to pop up a couple of questions because I'm always happy to see some people in here early. JJ Prods, Slay is mad with the Lions. He might come back. Obviously, Darius Slay started his career with Detroit. I see the Thunderhounds already using the hashtag Eagles. You got to love it. Hey, Chase, do you think that this will be the last year for Dallas Goedert? I think it could be the last year for Dallas Goedert just because he's an older tight end and he's in the final year of his contract. I think the Eagles might try to get younger at that position and obviously save some money, but it's a tricky situation. Jalen Hurts really fighted for Goedert to come back in free agency this year. It looked as though Goedert wasn't going to return and that he was going to continue his career somewhere else. He's become such a great player for this Eagles organization over time to the point where I actually think he's been underrated. He's second in franchise history in playoff receiving yards. I know he's been injured a lot, but he's always been one of the best all-around tight ends in the National Football League. Cooler gamer with this one. If we were to trade for Abdul Carter, wouldn't we have to give up a lot since technically he is still in his rookie year and it's only going to be his second year in the league? I think that if things sour so much to the point between Abdul Carter and the New York Giants, could you get him for a first and a second? We'll talk more about that coming up here in just a little while. So I appreciate that one. And then we have Jonathan here. Calcaterra is a good tight end. He's had some good clutch catches. I wouldn't mind another year with Calcaterra. I don't think athleticism has ever been an issue with Grant Calcaterra. He's a good pass catcher as well, and he's not a bad backup tight end on that front. The issue, though, is that when the Eagles go at these two tight end sets, they're expecting Dallas Goedert to block, and he's an awful blocker. And speaking of Calcaterra's blocking ability, I actually have some crazy, crazy numbers coming up here in a little while, which go to show you the struggles that Calcaterra has had as a run blocker and the success that Cam Latu has had when he's been a tight end and he's been blocking for this Eagles team. All right, so we took a couple of questions so far. I want to get started with segment number 1 here coming up in just a moment. We've got some injury news on Justin Herbert, Kevin Patullo talking about his house getting egged, and we're also going to get into another Darius Slay update. That's going to be segment number 1. We have another segment to get to, then we'll take your questions. And obviously between the segments, we can also take some of your questions as well. So let's officially dive in. We're live right here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., the official show about to get started. 272 people watching. I guarantee you, if we get more people to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video, we're going to have more people pile in. So here we go. Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now. Chase Sr. here with you. Here's what we have coming up here on today's program. A big Justin Herbert injury update going into Monday Night Football. A big game for the Birds against the Chargers in LA in Week 14. What Eagles offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo had to say about his house getting egged on Saturday, a day after the Eagles had that listless offensive performance against the Bears. And also some latest developments on the Darius Slay front. I talked about Slay earlier today. There are some new updates as it looks as though a reunion could happen between Big Play Slay and the Eagles. But first, I want to begin here. I have a question for all of you. Do you love the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you want elite Eagles coverage every single day year round? If the answer to that question is yes, hit that subscribe button. We're about 300 people away from 139,000 subscribers right here on the show. So lock us in and join the family right now. All right. Eagles Chargers coming up on Monday Night Football in Week 14. 5 weeks left here in the regular season. Eagles looking to end their 2-game skid. Back-to-back losses against the Dallas Cowboys, in which they built up a 21-0 advantage and then choked. They didn't score the final 41 minutes of the ball game, and the Cowboys rattled off 24 unanswered points to shock Philadelphia. And then on Black Friday, you're hoping that the Eagles are going to be able to flush that loss against Dallas. Instead, an embarrassing defeat. And this trend for the Eagles so far this year has been quite interesting. They won 4 games to start the year and started off 4-0. Then they lost 2 games. Then they won 4 more games in a row and lost 2. That has led to the Eagles having the current 8-4 record that they have. They're the number 3 seed in the NFC, and they're looking to end that 2-game skid and hopefully win another 4 more games, get into the playoffs, get hot, and then go on another Super Bowl run in what is a wide open league. This is the most wide open that I can remember, the NFC and the AFC being in quite some time. Now, going into this Monday night game against the Chargers, this Justin Herbert injury is looming large for this ball game. Adam Schefter with an update from head coach Jim Harbaugh just moments ago on this Wednesday afternoon that Chargers head coach Jim Harbaugh told reporters that his quarterback Justin Herbert, who underwent surgery on a broken bone in his left hand on Monday, that's his non-throwing hand, will not practice today for the Chargers, even if he will be on the field for a walkthrough. The Chargers still are not ready to say whether Herbert will be able to play on Monday night against the Eagles. And I like this Eagles defense a lot. A couple of weeks ago, coming off those consecutive wins in which Philadelphia was absolutely dominant against Green Bay and Detroit, I compared this 2025 defense to the 2024 defense, saying perhaps that the Eagles were younger, more talented, and a little bit deeper. But in the last 2 games, there's no doubt they have struggled against Dallas and they have struggled against the Bears. And against Dallas, they were getting gashed with big plays downfield through the air as Dak Prescott was linking up with George Pickens and CD Lamb. What a wide receiver duo that's ended up being for the rival Cowboys. But the Eagles in that game also struggled to stop the run. And then against the Bears, that Ben Johnson offense looked like a different sport compared to Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo's offense. And the Eagles defense got gashed on the ground. The Bears running for nearly 300 yards in that game. And the running concepts from Ben Johnson, so creative, so dynamic, and so successful. Kyle Monangai, game of his life. DeAndre Swift, more than 100 yards. The first time that the Bears have had 2 100-yard rushers in a single game since 1985 when they won a Super Bowl all the way back then. And so what Eagles defense is going to show up in this game? We're really not sure. I believe in the talent. I believe in the coaching. And hopefully this 2-game losing skid is just a mirage for the grand scheme of this Eagles defense here in 2025, which I think has shown glimpses of being elite with the return of Nakobe Dean and the trade of Jalen Phillips. But they have to get back on track. And obviously context is always important because it's not like this Eagles offense is doing the defense any favors. Yes, this Eagles defense got shredded against Chicago. They couldn't stop a parked car as far as the run game, but they were the reason why this game, which should have been 40-10, was close. because they kept this offense in the game and they bent but did not break on multiple occasions until later in the game, the dam inevitably broke. And going back to Trey Lance here, obviously, or Justin Herbert, if Justin Herbert can't play for the Chargers, obviously, Trey Lance going to get the start for the Chargers. He's the QB2. He won that battle in training camp and in the preseason. He was the number 3 overall pick by the San Francisco 49ers out of North Dakota State in 2021. He flamed out there, didn't work out, a lot of injuries, lost his confidence, got traded to the Cowboys. He had some really bad performances in the preseason and in the regular season. And then he goes to the Chargers, and Jim Harbaugh, this is why he's deemed a quarterback whisperer. I thought in the preseason, Trey Lance looked really good. Much more confident player. The throwing motion was tightened up a little bit. The mechanics were a little bit fine-tuned. He's always been a solid athlete, and Harbaugh in the preseason really catered the play calling and the offense to fit Lance's strengths, but also absorb and hide some of his weaknesses. Now, Lance came in last week once Herbert got hurt. Difficult to really gauge and judge how he performed. But if Justin Herbert plays in this game, it's a huge difference compared to Trey Lance. And so we're going to continue to monitor this injury all throughout the week. Justin Herbert this year having a really good season for a very banged up and injured Chargers team. He has 21 touchdowns. That ranks 6th among all quarterbacks in the NFL. 10 picks this year. He only had 3 all of last year, and then matched that with all of those picks in the wild card round against Houston. Herbert has also chucked it for 2,842 yards. That ranks 8th. What's going to be cool on Monday Night Football, and this is what Eagles fans do, they travel really well, but Eagles fans are going to take over the joint on Monday Night Football at SoFi Stadium. And hopefully the Eagles, unlike the last 2 games, give them something to cheer about. Topic number 2 here on the show. What did Kevin Patullo have to say after his house got egged in New Jersey? According to the Morristown Police Department, some Eagles fans egged his house on Saturday morning after that Black Friday defeat against the Chicago Bears. And I thought Patulo, when he spoke with the media today, handled it in a professional way. Here's a direct quote. At this point, ready to focus on winning the game. Unfortunately, that happened. I've been here for 5 years, and it's been awesome. I mean, this is such a unique place to coach and play. It's very special. We've been to 2 NFC championship games. We've won at Lincoln Financial Field. We won a Super Bowl. The parade, an amazing atmosphere to be a coach and a player. And as coaches and players, we all know that part of our job is to handle criticism. It's perfectly acceptable to sit up here and talk about what's going on, how to fix it, what we're going to do going forward. And we know that. But when it involves your family, obviously it crosses the line. That happened. And at this point, we just got to move on. We're trying to win. That's all we want to do is focus, whether it's my family, whether it's the team. All we're trying to do together is focus on this week. And we've got a long week, which has been good to have an extra day of preparation, go out there to LA and beat the Chargers. So again, I think Patulo did a professional job of addressing this. Nick Sirianni declined to comment on it yesterday on WIP. And Patulo, I think he had to kind of comment and share his thoughts on the situation. And he's right. Like, there's no place in the world for this to happen. And Kevin Patullo's family was home at the time. And can you imagine when your family is home, your house is getting egged? It can be kind of a scary moment. And those of you who are parents, who have kids, who have a family, you know all about that, right? And so I disagree with Eagles fans doing this. I think it was just a couple of dumb kids going out there and egging his house. And look, I'm not going to act like I wasn't a dumb teenager at the point. People in Westchester, Pennsylvania know that about me. You know, when I was a kid growing up in the suburbs of Philadelphia, when I was at Temple University in Philadelphia, there were times where, yeah, we would egg some houses, egg some cars, throw some water balloons at cars, play some ding-dong ditch. It's all a part of the maturation process of life and growing up as an individual. And sooner or later, you're going to learn that you shouldn't be making those mistakes. And so hopefully those kids learn from their mistakes and they understand that what they did was really stupid. Now, it is easy to see why fans are frustrated with this Eagles offense. But even though you're frustrated with this Eagles offense, it doesn't excuse you throwing eggs at Kevin Patullo's house. But the frustrations can be heard if you go on the radio. If you're in the comment section here on Eagles Now, if you're at the link and you're booing the Eagles, which I thought was justified on Friday, we all saw the broadcast. We all heard it. The boos were loud, and they should have been, because this Eagles offense has the same problems now going into week 14 that they had in week 1. And with all of this talent, the most expensive offense in the NFL, this offensive performance all season has been very lackluster. They're 24th in total yards, 24th in yards per game, 18th in total touchdowns, 27th in first downs, 25th in passing yards, 10th in yards per attempt, 16th in completion rate. Running wise, they're 22nd in the NFL in rushing yards. The offensive line has been awful all year. They're 24th in yards per carry. And then situationally, they're not good either outside of the red zone. 28th in third down rate, 13th in fourth down percentage. They are first in red zone touchdown scoring percentage, but 29th in field goal rate. This Eagles offense has to get better, and the talent is there for this offense to get so much better. And then also you see it with the ticker down below, topic number 3, a Darius Slay update. So talked about this a lot earlier on the show with the long form video, a YouTube short. Discussed this yesterday when Slay was released by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is a move that makes sense for Philadelphia. John Clark, NBC Sports Philly, reporting this morning on Wednesday that there is mutual interest between the Eagles and Slay. And then Hugh Douglas, former Eagles great, who was a great pass rusher for this team under Jim Johnson at the start of that Andy Reid era, who's also on WIP on the midday show now, had tweeted out he's hearing that a reunion is going to happen. Now, I think this makes a lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. Clearly, Howie Roseman thinks that cornerback is still a need for Philadelphia. He traded for Jair Alexander and Michael Carter going into the deadline. He traded for Jacorian Bennett prior to the year. Keely Ringo hasn't developed to the level that the Eagles had hoped. Adoree Jackson is who Adoree Jackson is. Slay has been a team captain. He's been a leader for this Eagles organization. He's a 6-time Pro Bowler and All-Pro. He's played in 2 Super Bowls in 3 years with the Eagles. Last year, I thought he played really well. And at the very least, he can give you a depth piece. If you need him to start, he can obviously start games for this team. And he can step in right away because he knows how to play in Vic Fangio's defense, and he knows the scheme. I have seen a lot of people say, oh, Darius Slay is washed. You can't bring him back. When in reality, I don't think that's the case. I know that in football, you can lose it very quickly, and you can go from being an elite player to being washed overnight. But I thought Slay did some decent things for Pittsburgh. Really, that defense as a whole is a problem. That's supposed to be Mike Tomlin's specialty as a defensive background, and they're not that good. TJ Watt, overpriced, overpaid. He's not playing well. The offense is really just mediocre. And Slay last year, actually, his final season with the Eagles, did have one of the best seasons of his career. Now, obviously, he was surrounded by a lot of really good players, and that helped elevate him, especially when you're playing with Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and Reed Blankenship and CJ Gardner-Johnson. Zach Bond was a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. He was an All-Pro, and the Eagles' defensive line was really good. But the eye test, I thought Slay passed it. And you look at some of the numbers for what he did a year ago. Completion rate allowed, 47.1%, career best for Slay last year. Yards allowed, 371, a career best. Yards per attempt, 5.5, career best. 20-plus yard completions, only gave up 3 all year, career best. First downs allowed, 15, a career best. And his pass breakup rate, 19.1%, a career best. Those are all really good numbers. So Darius Slay produced at a really high level for the Eagles a year ago, and maybe he's not going to play to that level, but again, just like last year, there's some really talented pieces around him, plus he knows the scheme. He didn't know the defensive scheme for Pittsburgh, and does that help him play well for this stretch run for Philadelphia? Shout out to Jeff Kerr for those numbers. I saw he put those out on X a little bit earlier. A daily local OG in Westchester, and hopefully he lands on his feet and he's able to find a job here soon. He was covering the Eagles and doing a great job doing it for CBS for a long while. All right, don't forget to give me a follow on social media, by the way. You can find me on X, Instagram, and TikTok at Chase_Senior. I'm always talking Eagles here on YouTube, but I give you additional Eagles coverage on my social media pages, and the TikTok is really starting to blow up. I just launched that page a couple of weeks ago. All right, let's see what some people are saying here. Somebody is saying this is a pre-recorded stream. Nope, we're live. 21 minutes into the live show, 404 people watching live. It is 5:01 p.m. Eastern on this Wednesday, December 3rd. We are live as producer Trizzy Tracy here is to my left. Trey Lasado, I see you in the comment section. King Nass saying this has got to be pre-recorded. No, not pre-recorded, man. We're live. Is Kevin Patullo gone? No, Kevin Patullo, still the offensive coordinator for this football team. Have we fired Kevin Patullo, Chase, from John Galt? No. Oh, there we go. I just saw the breaking news. Darius Slay claimed today on waivers by the Buffalo Bills. So there you go. Darius Slay claimed on waivers by the Buffalo Bills. So obviously when I'm doing the show, I don't have my eyes on my phone, but Darius Slay will not be returning to the Philadelphia Eagles. That is the update on that front. Darius Slay is gone, as Trees is saying that right here. Darius Slay to the Buffalo Bills. Nice profile picture there. Smoking that loud. Eagle Empire, that surprises me. I'll tell you what, that Buffalo Bills defense has been awful all season long. They've been really, really bad all year long. And I don't think Buffalo's that good of a team. I don't think Buffalo can win a Super Bowl with that defense. I don't know how much Darius Slay is going to be able to help. Rich Tucker, $2 super chat. Once an Eagle, always an Eagle. Thank you, Rich. Kane Angel, Slay to the Bills. No. Yes. Darius Slay to the Buffalo Bills. So he will not be coming back to Philadelphia. Now, Slay did say that he wants to keep playing and he wanted to go to a playoff team. Well, Buffalo, a playoff team, and now he gets to play alongside Josh Allen. Let's go back to some of your comments. Cool Rains tuned in from Australia saying he does miss Darius Slay. Isaiah Burns, Slay is not going to like Buffalo. He's going to say he doesn't want to go there. I mean, he got claimed by Buffalo, so he really doesn't have any choice. He had to pass through waivers in order to come back to the Eagles, as we were talking about. Do the Chiefs make the playoffs this year from Havo? I don't know. A lot's going to have to go right. T.O.'s trees bleed green forever. You already know, brother. All right, let's get to segment number 2 here. How the Eagles can fix their offense, and should Howie Roseman trade for Abdul Carter? That's coming up next year on Eagles Now. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to the channel. And let's get into segment number 2 right now. Yo, what's good? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. Chase Senior here with you. Another loaded show coming your way. What the Eagles must do to fix their offense. I want to get into that. And also, I really wanted to talk about this over the last couple of days, but this has been simmering, this situation between this player and the New York Giants. But this upcoming offseason, should Howie Roseman shock the NFL and trade for Giants pass rusher Abdul Carter? All of that coming your way, but a programming reminder, we're going to be doing a live watch party for this Eagles-Chargers Monday Night Football game right here on Eagles Now. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us as we're closing in on 140,000 subscribers. So let's begin here. What can the Eagles do to fix this offense? This is an offense that made it to the Super Bowl last year, won the Super Bowl, and returned every single starter outside of the right guard. Out went Mekhi Becton, and to replace him, Tyler Steen. Howie Roseman also has invested a lot of money into this Eagles offensive unit. It is the number one highest paid offensive unit collectively in the National Football League. And when you're investing in this offense like Jeffrey Lurie is, and you've put together this offensive room that is as talented as it is from Howie Roseman, you could probably imagine they're very frustrated by these Eagles offensive rankings going into week 14, which frankly is unacceptable considering the talent level and what they did last year at times. Total yards for Philadelphia going into Monday Night Football, 24th in the NFL. Yards per game, 24th in the NFL. Total touchdowns, 31. That is 18th. First downs picked up, 27th among the 32 teams. The Eagles passing game, 25th in total passing yards, 10th in yards per attempt, 16th in completion rate. Now, Jalen Hurts has kept the ball out of harm's way. He only has 2 interceptions this year. That's the fewest in the NFL. But this offensive line has been horrendous considering all the dogs up front who were so great last year. And this is really what's shocking to me is that they're getting bullied and they're getting pushed around and they're getting backed into the lap of Jalen Hurts or right into the face of Saquon Barkley so that he has nowhere to go. The Eagles are 22nd in rushing yards this season. They are 24th in yards per carry. And their situational offense isn't good either outside of their red zone touchdown efficiency rate. Third down percentage, 28th. Fourth down rate, 13th. Even the tush push isn't working any longer. Their red zone touchdown scoring percentage is number 1 in the NFL. And even Jake Elliott has struggled after a hot start to the year. The Eagles field goal percentage, 29th. And like Nick Sirianni has said, and I believe him when he says this, there's not just one thing to blame, one thing to pinpoint, and one person to blame for this offense struggling. There are so many reasons for why this Eagles offense has had the litany of issues that it's had. Jalen Hurts is playing poorly since the bye week, and he's really been up and down all season long. He'll have some really elite stretches and bad stretches. The offensive line for Philadelphia, a major disappointment. Last year, you're thinking this offensive line was going to be the pillar of this ball club for many years to come because outside of Lane Johnson, everybody pretty young. But injuries, inconsistent play, and maybe wear and tear from last year, as Jordan Mailata talked about earlier in the season, has led to this offensive line being one of the worst units in the NFL. And because of that, the Eagles can't run the ball. I don't think it's a Saquon Barkley issue. His yards before contact has been down all year, between a yard and a yard and a half all season long. Execution and penalties, also big reasons why this Eagles offense has shot itself in the foot so many times. And that's big when you pick up, let's say, a 5-yard gain on first down, and you're at 2nd and 5. Then you have a penalty that moves you back to 2nd and 10. It changes the momentum of the drive. It changes the play call of the drive. It changes the strategy of what you're going to do for that play, but also what you're thinking about on third down. And it has happened time and time again. Also, there have been so many times this year where the Eagles have that big explosive play downfield, and you're thinking, wow, they're going to be in a position to score, flip the momentum of the ball game, change the complexion of the game, and then it's wiped out by a penalty. A huge issue recently against the Cowboys on the road. And then also another issue or issues with this Eagles offense, the scheme and the play calling absolutely stinks. Now, Nick Sirianni did say this, and maybe this has some people hopeful, that with this offense, everything was being evaluated during the mini bye because the Eagles played on Friday and then play again, obviously, on Monday against the Chargers. Sirianni added, we'll think about some different things that we want to do, scheme, everything. I don't think it benefits for me to share what that is. That's fine. A lot of coaches like to keep things close to the vest, and for competitive advantages, you don't want to have to unveil those reasons. Now, Nick Foles did say after that Black Friday defeat, maybe an option could be putting Kevin Patullo up in the booth so that he can call the offense from there. That gives you a bird's eye view of the offense, and you're able to maybe sequence plays a little bit better, get into more of a play calling rhythm, and you're able to identify and see coverages, which can help you sequence and call those plays throughout a ball game. And some coordinators like to be up in the booth. Joe Brady of the Buffalo Bills, for instance, Vic Fangio with the Eagles. But I don't think that's going to be the move that Patulo goes with. He even said, I haven't been up in the booth in 9, 10, 11 years, I think he said. He values his communication with his players, which I totally understand. I do think, though, there are some things that the Eagles can do to fix some of their offensive issues with Kevin Patullo as the offensive coordinator. And those of you who watch this show, you know that I've shared my thoughts on this, that I would have fired him. I don't think he's done a good enough job this year. And I think this Eagles offense, which has been lifeless, needs some life. And somebody needs to light a fire under this offense. Because when I was watching that game on Black Friday against Chicago, to me, it looked like the Eagles didn't have any belief in what was being called or the offensive system. And you have Scott Loeffler on the staff as quarterback's coach. You have Parks Frazier, who's also called plays before on the offensive staff. I think they could do a better job than Patulo. But with Patulo as OC, and maybe against the Chargers, if they flatline again, Sirianni's hand will be forced by Lurie and Roseman. Here's some things that the Eagles can do to fix some of their offensive problems. More designed quarterback runs. I know Jalen Hurts doesn't want to do this, but look, when you're not playing well and the offense is subpar, you need to make some sacrifices. And I know that Hurts wants to stay healthy, and the Eagles want to keep him healthy. But more designed quarterback runs gives the defense something to think about. It makes you harder to defend, and it can open up some things. And we've seen over the last couple of weeks when the Eagles have run quarterback draw or designed quarterback runs, it's worked, and the Eagles have been able to pick up chunks of yards. I would also like to see the Eagles run tempo more. They're down against Chicago on Friday, and they run tempo, and they go 5 plays right down the field in less than 4 minutes. They're explosive. Jalen Hurts hits A.J. Brown for that touchdown, and they score right away in a blink. And then for the rest of the game, outside of garbage time, when the game was already decided, they didn't run tempo until late, when the game was already over. If it is working, maybe stick with it. I know you want to give your defense some rest. And if you go tempo and you go 3 and out, you're not helping out your defense. This was a massive problem during the Chip Kelly era. But you need to find answers and solutions for why your offense has been so lackluster and mundane. And running tempo more can help this offense get going. Less thinking, more momentum, and things are able to click a little bit better. When the Eagles went down huge against the Rams in week 3, what led to their comeback? Running tempo more. I would also like to see Kevin Patullo call more RPOs and more plays from under center. The RPOs can help out Saquon Barkley. The RPOs can lead to Jalen Hurts finding success on the ground. And I know that that's kind of going backwards to the infancy of Hurts's career when he was very green and you ran RPOs to just have another play in your back pocket. But I'd like to go back to that. And then when you're under center, it can help the ground game out. Saquon has said it's easier to run from under center, and it opens up play action. I want to see the Eagles run Tank Bigsby a little bit more. How did he not get involved against Chicago? Inexcusable. How did Saquon Barkley have less than 15 carries in that game? The thing with Tank Bigsby, this offensive line is not getting the push that it did last year, but with a physical running back, just because he's going to lower his head and run north-south, he's still going to be able to pick up 3 to 4 yards on some occasions. He's going to be able to break some tackles because he's a different style runner than Saquon Barkley. I also do not want to see any more Grant Calcaterra as a blocker. He's horrible as a blocker. And then, of course, the Eagles have to clean up their dumb mistakes and penalties. And how about these run blocking grades among the 133 tight ends in the 2025 season? Grant Calcaterra ranks 130th out of 133 in run blocking grade among tight ends in football with a grade of 44.3. You know who's also not been great, who usually has been pretty good as an all-around tight end? Dallas Goedert. He ranks 117th. That's 48.6, the grade there. And so this makes it even worse when Goddard, who's supposed to be a good run blocking tight end, is struggling. But then when you go 2 tight end sets, he's not playing well. And then the second tight end is even worse. Guess who's number 1 in run blocking grade among the 133 tight ends here in 2025? Who is on this team? Who should be replacing Grant Calcaterra when the Eagles go heavy at 12 personnel? Cam Latu. He is number 1. So I am benching Grant Calcaterra and I am putting Cam Latu out there. Some more problems with this offense. These tendencies are readable and predictable for the defense. Highest hitch route rate in the NFL. Lowest crossing route rate in the NFL. The Eagles are bottom 5 in pre-snap motion. Bottom 2 in play action fakes. And A.J. Brown is in the slot. The least among all wide receivers in football. That's insane. And you think about the current landscape of the NFL, right? And some of the great offensive minds who we see and watch every week. Kyle Shanahan with the Niners, Sean McVay with the Rams, Ben Johnson with the Bears. What are they doing? Diverse route trees, a very complex running game, which is very dynamic. They run pre-snap motion like crazy for the most part. McVay and Shanahan especially. They get the play action game going, and they will scheme players open. They will put players in a position to succeed, like having A.J. Brown in the slot where he's matched up against slot corners, linebackers, and safeties. The Eagles just simply need to do a better job of being more creative, exotic, getting into the think tank. And part of this is a Nick Sirianni problem. I also want to get to this. Should the Eagles trade for Abdul Carter this offseason? 2 times in 3 weeks, he has been disciplined by the team. Both times by the interim head coach, Mike Kafka, a former Eagles legend. I say that sarcastically. The Giants right now are an absolute dumpster fire. There were some issues with Abdul Carter at Penn State that are coming to the surface right now. I used to cover Penn State. That was my previous job prior to covering the NFL here at Chat Sports. I heard some of these whispers. Micah Parsons had them as well. And you're seeing Abdul Carter kind of act like a jackass with the Giants. He denied any questions and didn't answer any questions the other night after that Monday night loss against the Patriots and didn't have any reasoning behind why he's been disciplined by the team. But this is where it's kind of interesting, right? Abdul Carter is from Philadelphia. He grew up an Eagles fan. He went to the Super Bowl in New Orleans with his dad. He was seen posing with the Lombardi Trophy and a Let's Hunt shirt alongside Jalen Carter. Abdul Carter is a player who Howie Roseman coveted in the pre-draft process, but the Eagles weren't in a spot where they were going to have a top 5 pick to take him. Howie values edge rushers in general. He was looking at a trade for Micah Parsons. He traded for Jalen Phillips. Their interest in Myles Garrett has been documented over the last several months. For a young player, a change of scenery potentially could be huge for Abdul Carter. The Eagles have the foundation and the cultural leaders to get him on track. That's part of the reason why the Eagles drafted Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter had all of those issues coming out of Georgia, and the Eagles said, you know what? We have Jason Kelce. We have Fletcher Cox. We have Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson, Jalen Hurts, Darius Slay. We have Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, and this staff. We can afford to draft a player like that because we have a culture. We have a standard. We have a foundation where when players come here, they know it's all about football. It's all about winning. It's all about a rich history. And they're not going to do some dumb things and mess up, hopefully, right? And you think about Abdul Carter at Penn State under James Franklin. They were winning a lot. They were one of the best teams in the country. They had national championship expectations year in and year out. Abdul Carter goes from that environment where they're churning out high-level NFL players all the time, playing in a bunch of big games, to the New York Giants, who have 2 wins, are a dumpster fire, and have no leadership at owner. Their GM stinks. Their head coach already got fired. And lastly, the Eagles have the draft capital in order to maybe make a trade. If it gets to a point where the Giants say, we got to get rid of the player, it's not working out here. Could you get him for a first and a second? And for those of you who say, no, that's too much, are you getting a player in the back half of the first round who's better than Abdul Carter? You're not. And you still have him under contract for the next 4 years if you do that. I loved him at Penn State. He was the number one player on my big board. I don't think that this happens, but boy, oh boy, wouldn't it be fascinating if the Eagles were to do that? All right. Rich Tucker sent in that super chat a little bit earlier. Appreciate it, Rich. Big Will saying the Giants are going to get the first pick in the draft. They're in the running right now with only 2 wins. Carter gets held on every play from Tim. If you're talking about Jalen Carter, he really does. John Galt talking smack with some Cowboys fans. Cow frauds are like Santa Claus. They disappear in January. That's hilarious. What else we got here? Oh, we got some Packers fans in the chat, it looks like. Pio's Trees. Bro, y'all just mad that we're goated. Howie is the GOAT. Yes, he is. I also realize I left your comment up for that entire segment. A lot of people are going to become familiar with you. Tim, Hurts beat Green Bay. The Clown Boys got destroyed by them in the playoffs, remember? Yeah, I mean, that was what, back in 2023. But let's give credit where credit is due. I think the Cowboys are the hottest team in the NFC, and right now they're playing like the best team in the NFC. It hurts me to say it, but that is true. West Philly Rock, get Abdul Carter. That would be insane. Danielle talking about the offense. We have to switch the plays up for sure. Peter Riley, keep up the good work, brother. Thank you, man. I grew up in the Philly area dreaming about talking about the Eagles. To be able to do it professionally and reach 3 million people a month, it's incredible. Dr. Checkmate, $2 super chat. Philly doesn't need the Carter headache pass. But a lot of people were saying that Jalen Carter was going to be a headache prior to the draft. He hasn't really been a headache outside of spitting on Dak Prescott. Been a phenomenal player. All right. Let me scroll down. See what other people are saying here. John, Parsons trade looking pretty good for Dallas right now, I'd say. And I like how they've rebuilt their defensive line. Quinnen Williams has been awesome in his first 3 games as a Cowboy, and it's helped to elevate Osa Odigizua. And then Kenny Clark has been a good run defender. IAG, welcome to the Bills, Darius Slay. Yes, Darius Slay signing with Buffalo. Peter Riley with some confidence here. We will bounce back. Ohio, bro, Eagles need to fucking lock in. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. All right. Looks like I'm going to sign off. Cheryl Durstein, Eagles need a Christmas miracle. Look, they just need to play better on offense. And if they play better on offense, then they play more complementary football, helps them out on defense. It'll do them wonders. It'll do them wonders. Big Will talking about the offense. Got to change it up. No doubt. No doubt. All right. Just wanted to go live here for a quick 45-minute session to talk some Eagles. Producer Chip had a dentist appointment, so he had to dip out early, which is why I'm doing this style of live show. But I really enjoy these. Just have an opportunity to kind of mix it up, chop it up with everybody. Ralph Crowder What's the deal with Ty Robinson? I expected more out of him. 6'6", 290, sub 5, 40-yard dash in the pre-draft. At Nebraska, 5-year college player, maybe even a 6-year college player. I thought he did some decent things in the preseason, but look, you can't write off rookies so quickly. You know what I mean? Can't write off rookies so quickly. Here's to hoping that he can really develop going into year 2. I mean, you think about a guy like Milton Williams. You think about a guy like Moro Ajomo. Were they great players in year 1? By no means. But by the last year of Milton Williams' contract, he was really good. Moro Ajomo this year has been absolutely sensational. So it takes, especially linemen, sometimes a couple of years to develop. Danielle McNeil, $2 super chat. Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate that. All right, we are about to sign off live here. Philadelphia Eagles Now. Thanks to everybody who got your comments in. Appreciate all of your super chats as well. Did a couple of segments. In case you're just joining the show, we put Darius Slay on the thumbnail. Darius Slay claimed off waivers by the Buffalo Bills, so he will not be signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll have coverage to come a little bit later tonight. Going to put out a video. We'll be live next Monday Night Football, Eagles Chargers. If breaking news happens, of course, we'll do some more live coverage. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in. So we'll catch you soon. Peace.